What's up, traders? John Hall here. Hope you guys are doing well. We're going to have a bit of a market update time today, guys. Market update time! Alright. My intentions for this video, guys, is just to give you a bit of a market update across the board. We're going to have a look at the FTSE and all those other markets as well, too, and just to share with you what I'm seeing right now in the market. So before I start this video, guys, do not place trade based on this video. This video is general advice only. And you know, all trading involves risk. If you want some coaching or some education from me, guys, all links are in description. Let's get straight into this video. So, what do we see here with the Dow Jones? So we see what's happening with the Dow Jones. We see that's the market is we've got a bit of a sideways, bit of a nice rally up and a bit of a sideways day, right? It's actually looking quite bearish, or it's looking like the market wants a bit of a reversal here. So you can see the market ran up, little sideways movement. So I'm actually expecting to see a bit of a downward movement coming into Friday. That's obviously US time, Saturday, my time. So I'm expecting to see that there. Now, the one thing I do say here is this, is I don't normally put relevance onto this one. I just want to share something with you. You can see what's happened here, right? We've had this big gap through here. So that gap will be filled. This gap here, if I show you this here, and let me actually just, if I bring up, say, a blank chart here, you'll be able to see it a lot more clearer. So if I open up my chart here, you can see what I'm talking about, right? Every single gap gets filled. So you can see here we had this gap here. Guess what? It got filled. We had this gap here. Guess what? It got filled. We had this gap here. Guess what? It eventually got filled. We had a little gap here. It got filled. So this gap here, it will get filled. There's no doubt about that, right? We just know all gaps get filled, especially on the S&P 500. So now looking at that gap there, I also want to bring your attention to the actual candlestick pattern that is actually on the chart itself. And what is that? That's a hanging man, right? And it's really interesting to see that the market has ran up and we had this little hanging man slash little sideways day through here. So that's actually quite a weak sign, and I believe we're likely to start getting a bit of a downward move there. Same with the Nasdaq. The Nasdaq, what? The Nasdaq gave a little hanging man price action here. Normally I won't look into that, but you can see that's exactly what's happening through there. But once again, guys, looking on the Nasdaq, let me bring this over here to this chart here. And again, I just want to share this with you, that every single gap on, there's actually no gaps on this chart here. So forget what I was just about to say just then. So no gaps on the chart itself when it comes to Nasdaq, but Nasdaq is actually looking quite weak as well. Let's actually continue down here into the other markets, such as the low cap stocks. So this same for the IWM, which I think is the Russell 3000. We have this big gap here that will be filled. And so that was the IWV. This is the IWM. Same thing here. Big gap here. The gap will be filled. So big rally up and rally out. So I do believe those gaps here will get filled. So I believe we're like getting ready for a slingshot down or something like that anyway. So let's go have a look at silver and gold now, guys. Silver and gold time. So what's happening with silver and gold? Let's bring it back to this blank chart here. Oh, this blank chart here, and what's really going on with silver and gold. You can see we've had quite a decent pullback, right? Quite a decent pullback, and now we're actually breaking below this major support levels here. If we go to this weekly chart, we go to this weekly time frame, you can see that the overall trend has changed. And even though we're getting a deep pullback here, remember we made this high, a higher high, a low. So this overall weekly chart could actually even come down even a bit further down through here to find a bit of support around the $16 mark, 16 to 16.50, and then start to rally up and out, as you can see, right? And if you have a look at this here, if I bring up say a trend line from there to there, right? So you can see what I'm talking about here. That's essentially what we're looking at there. Makes sense? And you can see that's where essentially what we're looking at with that trend line there. So for me, guys, as I said before, for me that the overall trend has changed on gold and silver. Even though we're getting a decent pullback right now, I believe we're likely to start seeing some shift there, especially that's on the silver market there. And the same thing for gold as well too. Now gold has actually ran up, came straight back down, and now it's actually finding a lot of support where we are right now. Again, guys, the trend has changed on this chart. And again, we just had a big rally up and a big rally down. I believe we're likely to find a bit of support here. We're likely to start to see a rally buck up and out of this as well too, because the trend has completely changed when it comes to that. So that's what I see there for on those markets there, guys. Let me share with you what I see on Bitcoin as well. So we go to the Bitcoin chart for you guys that are still in Bitcoin. How much more evidence do you want to see that this thing is now rolling over? Look at this here, guys. It's interesting. If you go back to my last Bitcoin video, what did I say? The market's likely to run up to this level here and then create a lower high and start to roll over. That's exactly what's actually happening. Now, I didn't know that. That was a guess. So that was a lucky guess. It's not like I got some magic powers or something, but just when the market does that. So I believe we're likely to see a lot more selling off in Bitcoin, and I believe that money is going to start to go into silver and gold as well too. So let's go have a look at some other markets here. They're all odds, guys. So for you guys that are trading the Australian market as well, I want you guys to really look at something here. We've got a nice big head and shoulder formation here on the Australian market, and we've got a nice big down bar through here. So the overall trend is still up, but we're getting a lot of breaking out on the downside there, on that there as well too. The FTSE market, for you guys that trade the FTSE market, are interested in the FTSE market. The FTSE market is looking very, very, very weak, guys. Very weak. We're actually breaking below these major key levels of support now. You can see we had this big drop down. We're creating like a bit of a bear flag. So I'm expecting to see the FTSE down around about these support levels, at least to see that there. So I believe like I see a drop down there on the FTSE level there, guys. So so there we go, guys. That's actually what I see through there. Let's actually see if I can have a look at something else. Let's go have a quick look at, say, USO, which would be the oil market as well. If you have a look at USO, let's bring up this again. Let's bring up this blank chart here. Let's delete all the trend lines off here on this USO chart. And I think, guys, remember what I said before, right? When you're having a look at the markets, and let's bring up this weekly chart here. When you're having a look at what the market is likely to do, watch the highs and lows, and you'll be able to, the highs and lows start to tell you a story. And so let me show you here. This is overall oil through here. And so overall, guys, look at this here, right? So look at this here. So we had this we had this lower high, and then we had this higher low. So if we're having this lower high, higher low, who's really in control through here? No one, right? So then we started getting what? We got this lower high, lower high, lower low. Who's in control? Sellers. Lower high, lower low, and a lower high. So who's still in control through here? Sellers, right? So even though we're getting lower highs and lower lows, sellers in control, there's something else that was lurking behind the scenes here that I want you guys to have a look at to show you what I'm seeing here. And let me show you what I'm talking about here. This is the weekly chart, remember, okay? This is the weekly chart. Forget the volume there for a minute. And as you can see, what has actually happened here is actually we came down, we made this major support level. And as you can see, what ended up happening was this. It actually broke down. It came straight back up. It actually resisted it there. You actually can see we had that weekly drop down. And then we broke back up, and now we came back down and found support. Now, if you look at that on a more of a scale basis, what does that look like? And let me see if I can bring up more of a circle, so an ellipse. And let me see if I can make that more of a, like I say, a red. What does that look like? That looks like what? A shoulder, head, and shoulder formation, right? Remember, this is on a weekly chart. So this has taken weeks, months to form on the weekly chart. And now we're actually starting to scoot up and scoot out. So it looks like that, for me, looks like oil is starting to bottom out. And it looks like we're trying to get a bit of a rally to the upside and a rally up and out. Makes sense, guys? So that's what I see there with the oil market as well. Let's go have a look at the dollar index just quickly as well too. So the dollar index has been coming down. So this is the weekly chart here. The daily chart has been to continue to get hammered and hammered and hammered and hammered. What's the overall big picture on the weekly chart? For me, guys, you can see we're having these nicely, sort of a nice break below these major support levels here. And for me, I believe we're likely to start seeing a lot more drop on the overall dollar itself as well too, like the US dollar getting a lot more of a drop down. Had that rally up. US dollar looks very, very, very weak where we are right now. So let's have a quick look at let's actually go have a quick look at some major stocks around here, guys. Some major stocks that you guys may be interested in. So Amazon, AM. Let's have a look here. So AMZN, Amazon. What's Amazon up to? If we squeeze our chart up through here and I bring up my little trend lines here, Amazon is making a major what? Major head and shoulder formation right now. Or actually it is forming right now. So if we start to break this here, this neckline through here, guys, then it's actually a lot more downside to come when it comes to, you know, when it comes to Amazon. If we do start to get a drop down from Amazon, and how you measure the head and shoulder, guys, I'll share this with you. How you measure the head and shoulder projection is you've got a conservative projection and you've got an aggressive projection. A conservative projection, and let me just see if I can just take away this here. So a conservative projection, what I like to do is I like to go from basically just above, all right? So if I bring this up here just a little bit more, so a conservative is you're gonna bring your little neckline up just a little bit more, and you're going to basically measure towards where the close was, right? So we get like that's from there to there, and if we project that down, this here is what I call a conservative projection, and as you can see, right, it comes right down to this support level. So if Amazon starts to break down, then we'll likely get a breakdown there. Now, an aggressive target would be from the ultimate high to the ultimate low point through there. So, and a more of an aggressive target would be that target there. Make sense, guys? So for me, the most target that's likely to get to is this here. Now, one thing you want to look at here with Amazon as well too, guys, is we've been going up for quite some time, a long time. So this head and shoulder formation, guys, has been building over many weeks. You can see it here. It's likely to start playing out, and if we do start to get that breakdown, like I believe we're going to see in the markets, then Amazon's likely to pull back as well from there. Makes sense? Let's go have a look at, say, Google as well too. What's happened with Google? Google. As you can see here with Google, let's go back to that weekly chart. Google has been just rallying up quite nicely from this weekly trend line through here. You can see it's just squeezing up. So Google still actually looks quite strong through here, right? So we're actually, if you have a look at Google, we're actually, what are we getting? We're basically getting a big long-term sort of channel here, right? We're getting this big long-term here, and sort of big sort of support line through here as well too. So the market's rallied up, rallied down, and now we're just going sideways through here. But if we do start to break this, sort of 900 level, if we do start to get a bit of sell-off down there, then it looks like Google is on its way down to around about, I would say the 840 level would be the projection for me on there. Let's have a look at Facebook as well. What's Facebook up to? Facebook got a bit of a rally up and a rally out as well too. Let's go have a look at that weekly chart. You can see how looks like Facebook is just, it might be creating a double top formation, or it looks like, or it might break through. So Facebook's actually looking the strongest out of all of them. So I definitely wouldn't want to be going against that when it comes to Facebook. And Apple was another one here, guys, that I wanted to share with you. What's happened with Apple just recently? We actually started getting a close below this recent high. All right, so what that's telling me, especially on this weekly chart, is now we are now getting the first signs of the end of this massive trend. The very first sign of this big massive trend. Why? Because every single time in the past, as you can see, let me bring up this little tool here. Every time we bring up, every high became support. High became support. High broke it. High became support. High did become support, but now this is the very first time we're actually getting a weekly close, or likely to get a weekly close below that level. This is the very first sign of an end of trend, and we get this close here. Guys, I don't know why, but a lot of stocks are actually looking very weak when it comes to the overall markets there. And as you can see that there, and so Apple again, guys, is the very first sign closing below that. This is the very first sign of the end of the trend when it comes to Apple as well too. So there we go, guys. Bit of a market update for you guys. Bit of across the board market as well too. Things that I'm looking at, or should I say, just the overall market update. Have an amazing weekend, guys, and I'll see you next week.